Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your participation in Fibra in second annual Investor Day 2015. I'm very glad to share with you our visions, our strategy, our achievements, and also to have an interaction forum for the benefit of Fibra's industry in Mexico. We are going to start now with a video. It's a 3-5 minutes video, so let's play it. Good, so this was just a video about our properties. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first presentation, Fibra in Vision, from Victor Zorrilla Carrillo. He is our CEO. He has more than 25 years of experience in real estate. He also has over 25 years in the hotel industry and more than 31 years in finances. Mr. Carrillo is a mechanic engineer of the UAM and it has an MBA from IPADE. Now, After that, we will have our second presentation, Acquisitions and Developments during 2014 and Acquisition Plan for 2015 by Mr. Fernando Rocha. He is our Acquisition Director and of Fibra In. He worked for Grupo Posada since 2005, developed by Strategies, Director of Business Process Outsourcing, Director of Hotel Investments, and Development Director. He also worked for Senan Corporation. He has studies on professional development program for Cornell School of Hotel Administration. Thank you very much, Lisette. Please don't mention my years of experience. They are going to do the counts. Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second event for investors. I'm sure that the information that we'll be presenting today is very valuable and for interest to you all. So during this day, we're going to be providing different presentations to share the strategies and vision of our business, our growing plans for 2015, and the outcomes of 2014 that we just published. So without further ado, I would like to start with my presentation. I would like to start by saying that Fibra Inc.'s vision is based on a clear business model that is well defined. We are focused only in business hotels that are the most resistant towards the upsides, economical downsides. We operate our hotels with leading global brands that have the recognition of the national and international guests. Our strategy is oriented towards the acquisition of hotels over the developments. We want to have an intelligent portfolio growth. Speaking about our vision, this is to be the leading provider of real estate properties, providing short-term accommodation services to business travelers under global brands throughout Mexico, but also offering memorable experiences for guests. A healthy and adequate work environment for employees, as well as exceeding investor expectations. There are many elements that have influence on our business model success, but we do believe that there are key factors to achieve leadership, and these are outstanding performance, to provide an outstanding experience for our guests, as I mentioned before, through motivated employees throughout the organization that will provide the investor a maximization of ROI. Having a directive board that is well experienced, because this is high specialization, using technological platforms that are offered by the international hotel chains and that are very important to optimize incomes, having a flexible operation model to replicate procedures in 30, 45, 60, or 120 hotels. The institutionalization of the best hotel practices to be applied throughout the organization. Internal communication and delegation of decision-making among employees to improve the performance of the organization. I have chosen this quote that expresses very well our industry. We are hotel people in the hotel business. In high specialized hotel business requires the following. As Conrad Hilton said, location, location, location. Having the correct infrastructure for the market where the property is, with the ideal brand for the market, using to at the at the max the technology tools for the guest experience to be memorable, to train and motivate personnel so they can reflect this by dealing with the guest, having the best management team in the hotel industry in Mexico. Fibra in meets all these characteristics, and this is what makes us different from any competitor at the hotel industry. Fibra in is well placed in the market, and its business model is towards the opportunities of the market. In regards to macroeconomic environment, the generation of Fibra in is led by the manufacturing exporters to the US. And it is exactly within this niche where we have most of our business travelers that we address within our hotels. These exporting companies prefer to do business in Mexico and not of the region due to the proximity of the US and geographical location. The labor costs that are very competitive, the availability of technology, and very important, the qualified personnel with management culture and bilingual businesses environment. So Mexico will continue being more attractive before China or any other country in Central and South America. On the other hand, the low oil prices benefits Fibra in. Our thesis is the following. Consumption in the U.S. is driven by lower product costs, thus higher disposable income. U.S. consumer will demand more imports customers, and this will increase the hotel demand for Fibra in. We have reinforced our strategy of optimization, revenue optimization. Our fees have been benefit from the depreciation of the Mexican pesos. It increased 9.3 compared to the last period. This has also been beneficial by those rates negotiated in dollars. Fees in Mexico are still below those rates in Mexico, in US and South America, and especially Brazil. So we believe there will be an increase in the future. So with all the macroeconomical environment in Mexico is very beneficial for our business, and we are taking opportunity of this environment. So the operational reports will not let us lie. So we will continue seeing this trend in the future. Now, in regards the opportunity that we have in acquisition and development of hotels, I want to tell you that our industry is based on acquisition. So we want to have an immediate ROI to our investors. So this is why we try to get our incomes from acquisitions rather than development. So this is why the hotel industry is fragmented. So this makes us conclude that our closer competitive is focus on the acquisitions, and we are within a very fragmented market where we believe that the purchase there is a universe nearly 1,000 independent hotels for the business travelers in Mexico. At we have proved that there are very few times where we can buy a hotel's package. And this is the reason why we analyze properties one by one, and the process can take many months. So we still have acquisitions with 10% cap rates. Speaking about hotel developments, we are going to invest, but we are not going to add more rooms to the market and not increasing the supply when it's not necessary. So we will only do it when we don't have acquisition or purchasing opportunities. We are going to participate in the prime and in those markets with clear competitive advantages, with minimum cap rates of 11.5% for these developments. Before going to the figures of 2014, I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Rocho, and he will talk about the development of our portfolio. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Oscar, and good morning. Thank you for being here in this Fibra In Day. My name is Fernando Rocha. I am Director of Acquisitions and Development in Fibra In, and I will talk to you about what Fibra In did during 2014 for acquisitions and development and the plans we have for 2014. In terms of hotels, Fibra started with 8 hotels and 1,613 rooms. 2 years later, we have 31 hotels and a total of 5,718 rooms, including the developments and 3 hotels and other segments. These represent 254.5% variation. We didn't have before any land for the development of hotels. We now have 5 lands located strategically and those that are attached to acquired hotels. We continue operating in the 3 segments: limited, select, and full service. Fibra In started operations at 6 states, and we are now within 14 states in Mexico. The company, when it started, had only 2 international brands. Now we operate with 12 international brands plus 2 local brands. Since we went public in the market, in the stock market, we have been developing strategic acquisitions. In 2014, we have a total investment of 1,060 million pesos with KPIs of 11 and 13%. We had the purchase of hotels of 1,733 rooms. 8 are for limited service, 1 is selected, and 4 are full service. And we are located in very economical potential states such as Celaya, Silao, León, Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Chihuahua, Culiacán, Toluca, Tampico, and Ciudad Juárez cities. On each one of the acquisitions, we had a specific strategy according to the hotel characteristics, and those were from the for the acquisitions in Plaza Celaya, León, and Silao. We have Holiday Inn in Tampico, Altamira, and we expand 120 rooms due to the demand for this plaza, and we also purchased a next door land that will be for the development of another hotel. With a loved vision of W hotels in Guadalajara, we started with the first hotel of the international chain Starwood. The 2 hotels Casa Grande, Chihuahua is going to turn into Il Juan Garden. 4 hotels, Microtel, Microsuites by Birham, will be the same brand because it's well positioned. We are thinking about 46 more rooms to this hotel. Finally, the Crown Plaza Monterrey Aeropuerto, it remains with the brand and has a very good location, and Mexico Plaza Guadalajara Andares will turn into Wyndham Garden. As I mentioned before, Fibra has three properties to be developed. The first one is located in Coatzacoalcos, Veracruz, and it is developing a limited service hotel with Fairfield Suites Hotels by Marriott with 180 rooms. The total investment is going to be 171 million pesos with a cap rate of 11.3%. The second one, located at Saltillo, Coahuila, we are developing a hotel with a brand Courtyard by Marriott. The investment is going to be of 198.1 million with a cap rate of 11.3%. And the other one in Ciudad del Carmen, Campeche. We still on plans for the starting date. Now, in regards to acquisitions and development current status, we have a total pipeline of 16.7 billion pesos, representing approximately 12,000 rooms located in 21 states of Mexico. We currently have a pipeline acquisitions of this total with valued at 9.8 billion pesos, representing 45 acquisition opportunities. We have two accepted offers that are starting the due diligence process and another five offering that are under final negotiations. Speaking about the pipeline of developments, it's valued at 6.9 billion pesos, representing 24 development opportunities in the strategic markets. We have four purchase options signed in strategic markets and one bid in process pending the definition of operator and brand. These bids that are pending, we will let you know when we sign all the contracts. Now we have the analysis of the current pipeline. We can see that the highest opportunities areas are in areas of high growth, where we have the industry of automobile, electronic, manufacturing of mechanical parts, appliances, and aerospace. This is at the center of the country. Fibra has the resources of capital and debt that are needed to continue growing and take advantage of the favorable aspects of the market. Our growth is equal to 15 hotels per year, which means duplicating the size of the Fibra in 2016. Our priority pillar is the acquisition, having opportunistic purchases to have the right models in terms of location and price. Always we will assess the strategy of operator and or brand to have an immediate profitability. Speaking about the strategic pillar of development, this is going to be the mechanism where we are going to get into plazas that we cannot purchase, but that we can build the ideal hotels in the ideal location with controlled investment. Typically, we're going to be trying to get into mixed developments due to the advantages, understanding that we will have a future profitability. We will let you know about the acquisitions and developments that we will be adding to our portfolio. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will pass the floor to Mr. Carrillo that will be talking about our perspective and final results for 2014. So now I'm going to play another role, but as you know, while we hire our CFO, I'm going to be looking at this area. So I would like to present the results of 2014 of the company. Our operational performance are the following. The room revenues, same stores in 2014, reached 14.1 million pesos. This is 6.4% compared to 752 million from the previous year. From the last quarter, we grew 14.1 to reach 221. million pesos. So this increase, this significant increase, it is due to that the acquired hotels are operating more efficiently than with the previous hotels. Even better performance due to the implementation of maximizing strategy of incomes starting from the second half of the year, and this has led us to increase on the rates. Our expectations of 2015 is to keep on having the growth of double digits for incomes in properties comparable to the same period during last year. And this growth, 60% will come from the increase of rate, which represents a growth of 6.6% a year in terms of fees. So we're going to want to have the 60% for next year. ROI reached 321 million pesos in 2014, which means an annual growth of 83.4% compared to 2013. The NOI margin is 33.4. This NOI margin reflects a operational efficiency. Excluding the acquisition expenses, we have the EBITDA of 147.69 million pesos, which is 36% of growth in respect the last year. EBITDA was 30%. Our expectations for 2015 is increase 50% the NOI related to 2014, taking into account exclusively 31 hotels that we have in our portfolio. Additional to these, we hopefully add an NOI of 60 million pesos that will correspond to hotels that will be incorporated during 2015, and these will vary depending on how quick or how soon these are incorporated. During 2014, we paid 231 million pesos with an increase of 29.8, with 182 distributed in 2013. This represents 79.9 cents. That is equivalent to 3.1% of increase compared to 77% cents in 2013. Let's remember that at the end of 2014, we had the distribution under a higher base of 37 certificates because of the distribution in November. Now, finally, the dividend yield year for 2014 was 4.9 based on the closing price of 16.40. Now, the one that is compared to dividend yield, that it was 4.1%. In 2014 has been a very intensive year for Fibra In. We're looking forward for the great view that we will have for Fibra In, and we are ready to face the challenges. We are within a country with great opportunities to increase room demands thanks to the industry of goods for the exports industry. Fibra In has a variety of options to continue purchasing hotels in a fragmented market. Our business model is well defined, directed to the business travelers, and operating with geographic diversification. We have the human and financial results. We have a pipeline that has been identified that we will execute with discipline. We have the best margins in the industry. We have strengthened our organization with the purpose that the experience of our guests is just incredible. We will have a solid strategy of disclosure along different geographies to increase and diversify our stakeholders. Fibra In is in a very good position in the correct place and in the correct time, and with a great platform to consolidate the expansion and to reach the scale that allows to be located as a leader company in Mexico to serve business travelers operating with international brands. Thank you very much for your attention, and without further ado, I would like to start with our Q&A session. So let's start our Q&A session. We have two people here with the microphone, so whoever wants to ask something, raise your hand. Thank you so much for this space. I have a question about your financial strategy. What are you thinking in terms of debt? I know you have money due to the increase, the capital increase in November, but how do you have your balance, and especially the increase in rates that we are waiting for? What is the impact that you're expecting from your cash flow generation? Very good question, Marimar. Very good. You're right. We currently have around 1 billion pesos. We have the credit line of 230 million pesos. We have only taken 100 million pesos for technical circumstances. We have around 3,300 million pesos. So we are thinking that the interest rates will be moving on the second half of the year. Meanwhile, we want to be prepared to be able to issue the debt when it is the right time. And we need to level in two cases. First, the speed on how we're going to invest the resources, and the second is how to have an issue of the debt before or waiting until the time we really need it. We don't need resources immediately, and obviously the on to value of the current credit line can increase because we increased the capital in November. So the idea is to be ready to pull the trigger whenever we feel that it's convenient. What are the elements that are going to play a role here? First of all, if you issue the debt, then you're going to pay an interest rate, and on the other hand, you have to be put it in the cash with a lower income. So we need to compare this difference on waiting and issuing a year later and to increase the rate for many years. And this also has to do with the speed of how we handle the money. But the important thing is for us to be ready. So we are ready for a mission whenever these numbers, these figures make sense. Hello, Oscar from HSBC Bank. Thank you very much for this meeting. Thank you for the information. My question has to do with dividend yield. This has to do with the certificate price, but a dividend yield of 4.9 and 4% is lower compared to other investments. So what would you expect to grow your results year over year? I believe it's an important thing. And the second question is, how many hotels you're expecting to close in 2015? You're speaking about 31 hotels, but when you close the year 2015, how many hotels you see in your portfolio? Now, starting with your first question, the dividend year for this year, we believe is going to be above 4.5%, 5% due to the number of hotels that will be incorporated, and we increase the number of certificates. So we expect to increase NOI and distribution payments. But if we start working on the available money, and we're seeing that we have 15 years per year, that hopefully we will finish with this number of hotels. These new hotels are not going to be working all the time, and if these can work next year, and the ones that are incorporated for next year and having all the money invested, then it's going to be a significant increase levels of 6, 7, or even 8% once we have all the money invested. So we do have money that we still have in a ramp up. Some hotels that were expanded that need to simulate the performance. But when I talked about the NOI of 50% more, it's only but with the hotels that we currently have. It is an important increase in terms of many of them improving their performance, the ramp up and forth and rebranding and better operational efficiency. Last year we ended with 31, but we started with 20. But these 8 hotels that we incorporated were at the last part of the year. So the increase is not by having more hotels, but the most important thing, the operational margins. So in absolute terms, by certificates, what is your expectation of distribution growth? We have 437 million, so we're going to have around 500 million of NOI. We need to, I think it's going to be about 1 peso per certificate. It's around 437 certificates. It's not, well, good. Hello, good morning. So when you talk about the cap rate of 3%, what is and how long are you expecting to reach this point of 10% cap rate per hotel? And when you need to change the brand, is this money included in the investment to calculate the cap rate? When we do the assessment for an acquisition of a hotel, projections are work together with the operation department because they need to agree on the premises that we are using, trying to reach the balance of these figures. What we try to look for is a balance after a year of purchasing the hotel. So this allows us to get into the operational department of Fibra. Whether we need a rebranding, if it is a strategy for a particular hotel, and it allows us to start creating this competitive advantage from these two components. Now, basically, what we do, it's an internal process of assessment where many departments from the company participate and we reach a figure with one single assessment. So if this implies any investment due to rebranding or if we're going to remove the existing brand due to some standards to take the current standards of the brand, yes, that investment is within the strategy. We take it at the investment of acquisition for analysis and assessment.
Good morning, Oscar. Speaking about the guide that you were mentioning, we had a 50% growth. Just to be clear on this 50%, is it considering already the hotels that are operating right now? And you mentioned that there could be an NOI additional of 60 million. What is the required investment to generate those 60 millions, and what would be potentially the NOI, in the incremental NOI that you could have if you would use the resources available, or if you could meet the goal of adding 15 hotels to the portfolio in the year? Confirming what I was saying, that the growth of 50% is only with those 31 hotels that we currently have. The 60 million pesos we calculated more or less taking into consideration that from this trimester and the rest of the year we could, was it 2 million conservative, which we added, and they're not operating the whole year. It was 2 billion. And based on that, we arrived to this figure. So there's a lot of uncertainty on when do you buy a hotel. But finally, now, as Fernando was saying, 2 hotels are already they're closed. There's an obligation from the seller, not of us, of selling because I was still bidding, but they have 6 offers that we already made and we are negotiating. So it does depend on the velocity in which we do this. But we want to work with conservative figures. And said in another way, which would be the incremental NOI that this investments would generate annually? Well, when we made the calculation, if I see the whole capital and the capacity of debt, then we have around 900 million pesos. Taking into consideration that we have all the capital in use if it's already invested and it's stabilized. So a little bit more than 1 billion pesos. So we still have to invest it and we wait for the maturity periods and ramp up. And in the acquisitions, that's faster. Lately, we have more focus on acquiring hotels that we incorporate faster, and we preferring those hotels than the ones that have bigger times because of reconversion or rebranding or increment in rooms. But these are very rentable, profitable. They have cap rate of 12 or 13% in this property. So finally, as I was mentioning, the acquisition business, it's an opportunistic business. So you would say, which opportunities do we have? And if they fall within our reference margin, then we go forward. So the great advantage, I don't know if you can see this, but we were speaking about a pipeline of 8 million pesos, 800 million pesos, and we are analyzing already 16 million pesos. Because also our sources to have more leads have increased for finding hotels. So Rafael More, they give us a lot more strength in the pipeline. So more greater opportunities. That's why we think we have a good pipeline and the resources to take advantage of it. The key is to take advantage of it, and as I said, it's the intelligent growth of a portfolio. First of all, see that it's the most convenient. We are not in a rush, so we need to do things in the right manner. Good morning. Could you tell us a little bit more about that growth perspective and the rate of 6%? And if you could explain it better, if it's because of a brand mix or specific locations or regions, if it's a accelerated demand in this year, or if you could speak a little bit more about the strategy of prices. Speaking of that, we've already taken in account the procedures that we fulfill them in a very strict manner, and that has given us very good results. So in January and February, we feel that it's been fulfilling with what I've been telling you about. How taking care that the rate, well, you need to be brave so that you can increase the rate so that the occupancy doesn't come down. And the levels tell us that we can do it. We can increase the rates. A lot of the times the general managers say I don't want to increase the rates because I don't want to lower occupancy. But nonetheless, we are making the decision that we do need to do this and create this analysis models because they are telling us this, that we can increase the rates. If it's okay with you, in the next panel, Rafael de la Mora, which takes charge of operations, can tell you a little bit more about it. We won't forget about it. He can explain more in depth. Thank you very much, Jorge Placedos. I wanted to ask you, what percentage of your rates are in dollars or they're related to the exchange rate? That's a very good question. A lot of the rates are published in dollars, so practically 50% of them, and more or less 35% of them are foreigners in the Fibra. So when we have an increase in the exchange rate, the rates that are expressed in pesos, they quickly are increased. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that you can leave them like that, because your competitors are in pesos. So if that happens and you need to lower the rate, and what you could do is you can try it and see if the market is responding and if you can stay like that. So what we've seen is that it's been remain because these hotels have more foreigners. So, but it does help if we increase the rates, but it's not the 100%. What just tell us is that it's a strategy that we need to give a rate that we believe that the market can support, because this is a competitive market. If you think that it would be an increment of 30% of exchange range and I increase the rates 30% because they're expressed in dollars and all the other hotels that are competing against me, they remain in pesos, then the market is not going to follow me with an increase in 30%. So we need to be very active in watching if how I need to move the rates to compete in pesos. And the ones that are rated in pesos, because a lot of the American industry, they do what they call the request for proposals. Some of them do it annually and some every 2 years, and these are traded in dollars, and hardly they renegotiate. So there you have obviously a direct benefit that if of a 30% would be in this situation. Another question, which percentage of your clients could stop the use of hotels because of the reduction of the public expenditure? Which percentage of your clients come from Pemex or other companies that could be affected by a recession? Well, we need to analyze by a hotel. I would tell you, we have a hotel here in Mexico City that has a lot of clients that are from the government sectors, but fortunately it's a hotel that has great facilities for events, and they do them with very competitive prices. So a lot of events that are, let's say, in a affordable rate in an event, and they can gather 1,000 person, it's going to develop very well because it's competing in that market segment. And hotels that we have in certain locations where it could be exposed to the Pemex part or the oil part. For example, we have a hotel that is in Reynosa that so far is doing good. Also, we have another hotel in Tamaulipas, so it's working well. So far, so good. So we do have other elements in consideration. In the case of Altamira, it's not in the port, it's in the industrial part. And there's a lot of petrochemical, but for them that's a supply that is lowering the cost of. And if this happens, they're going to do better. In the refinery of Madero, I don't know, they're about to close, but it's not very important. So we're not very affected there. So, but everything that we have in the Gulf Zone pipeline, we're analyzing it very closely. There, it's very important because last year we started to seek for more opportunities in that zone, but we had an offer already placed in that zone, and we didn't fulfill it because we saw that the horizon could change, and we decided not to fulfill that purchase. Good morning, Pablo Duarte de Actimer. Forgetting about the hotels that are in the ramp-up process and the ones that just added rooms, the rest of the hotels that are already established, how could you have been able to increase? In speaking about occupation and RevPAR, has this developed? I think also Rafael should answer this question so that he can go more in depth regarding it, because in fact we do see zones that are increasing or they're improving greatly. But if you want maybe Monterrey case that has improved a lot, I think it's because of two factors, which is improvement because of ourselves regarding the operations. Yes, it has improved because of that, and also because the market has been reinforced or growth. And the first one is finite. I mean, we can improve at a certain level. I can grow adding or taking rooms from the competition to a certain limit, but if you want, we can analyze this more in depth in the next panel. Joby Peters, do you have competitors in your branch, and what if you don't see it in the immediate future? Okay, so we are two Fibras, hotel Fibras, and the advantage is that we're very distinct. The other one is more focused on development, and we are more interested in acquiring. We are highly dependent on the operation that is at our hands, and they have a terrestrial operation. That's what distinguishes us and another competitors. Speaking of Fibras, I understand that we don't have others for the hotel sector. We don't see anything into the future. In the hotel sector, we don't see other competitors. And competitor branches or competitor chains, they have different models. There are businesses that are they own their branch and their operation, and so they have a different operation and composition. And most of them are more geared to development. So that's why I'm saying that when we buy, we're more active at acquiring hotels, and we've never found that in the same property two fibras are trying to outbid the other one. We haven't had that. If we had the case that someone wanted to play and say, hey, I'm trying to buy to this one, I can sell it to you, we wouldn't go into that. And for us, the process is very long. It takes months. We need to do market analysis. And from an offer to a hotel, it doesn't happen from one day to another. We need to do it in a very professional manner, and that takes time. Okay, well, thank you very much. If we don't have any more questions, I'm very grateful for your attention and your participation in this panel. Okay, we'll take a minute so we can set up up here for the next panel. This is panel number 1 that we prepared, where we're going to speak about the acquisition process of hotels. From where we have a hotel as a purchase prospect, and then we arrive to the integration of portfolio in Fibra, and this is going to be moderated by Ingeniero Joel Zorrilla, and we invite the panelists to come forward on our right side.